Hi and
Hi.
hello, everybody. Good afternoon. Hi, Karen. Hi, Rissi. Great to be here for another Sunday live chat this afternoon, or good morning, or good evening, wherever you are. If you're watching this live, please let us know as well as tell us where you're watching from today. And Karen, introduce yourself, and then you can introduce our special guest this morning. Afternoon, sorry, I
Hi.
keep saying morning.
Hi, my name is Karen. I am your favorite virtual assistant. I'm here with my co-host Gale every Sunday. Hey guys, if you don't know me. And today we're
Yes.
going to be talking about emotional detox. Today we have Rissi Carrey, who is the owner of Riso Riso Oasis. And we're going to be talking about emotional detox. She is the expert at this topic. She's going to walk us through. Guys, I'm just excited for this topic.
Yeah, put on your
So
seatbelt and strap
yeah,
yourself in. This is going to be another awesome conversation, guys.
yes, yes. So to kick it
Welcome,
off here.
Reese. Can you tell us a
Thank you.
little bit about yourself? And then, of
Mhm.
course, we're going to segue into what's really emotional detox. We know a lot of detoxing with our bodies, but we don't do
Yeah,
emotional detoxing. So we can't wait for you to tell us a little more about that. And, of course, why it's so important, especially today for many of us. So, welcome.
hmm
Thank you, ladies. Yes, it's good afternoon where I am. And yeah, I'm excited
Mm-hmm.
to be here. And yes, we need to buckle our seatbelts because
Mm-hmm.
my name is Rissi Carrey and I'm clergy. I'm also a clinician and I'm a health and wellness coach. So I come with three C's and I look at life through the three lenses. And so emotional detox is activating your emotional digestive system.
Mm.
So that is a
mm,
comparison right there, right? We chew on our food, we process it, right? We metabolize it, and the good part of the food goes back into the cells and the other vital organs to nourish our bodies, right? And whatever is deemed waste by the body, what does the body do to it? It excretes it. It does not let it stay in there because if the waste stays in the body, it is toxic.
Mm-hmm.
And so is your emotions. We are supposed to learn how to process it, metabolize it. What nourishes us stays, and what does not nourish us, we excrete. But guess what? Nobody taught us how to do that. So we neglect this vital aspect of us that actually informs everything about us. And in so doing, we go through some griefs and all kinds of stuff that are unnecessary because nobody taught us emotional attunement. So that's in a nutshell, that's what it is.
yeah. Oh my God, when you say emotional digestion, it says a lot because I never really thought about it in the aspect of that, digestion and nutrition and emotional aspects. So that's very interesting, which is true. Right? But why does people struggle so hard with that aspect of themselves, right?
Mm-hmm.
Especially with the vulnerability part. Not so much, people could be, they open to, I guess, emotional to certain people. Of course, I understand. But when it comes to just vulnerability, things like that, right? Some people struggle with authenticity too, depending on where they're at, right? So why is that so hard and so challenging to do? I mean, I can speak for myself, but I want to hear in general. Why is that such a struggle for a lot of people when it comes to that emotional vulnerability part of themselves?
It is back to basics, right? You got to learn how to attune to yourself, get to know you, deal with yourself, and get comfortable
Mm-hmm.
before you can express
Mm-hmm.
anything outside. So if you don't know how to process, metabolize, release, self-aware, you can get vulnerable. So if you don't have the basics, you cannot do anything. Just like we cannot, only babies drink milk. And actually, human babies are the ones who drink milk the longest.
Mm-hmm.
So imagine you giving that baby something to chew on that they don't even know how to chew, right? They're going to choke.
Yeah.
And even us as adults, when we are supposed to get that little bite of whatever it is, you're supposed to chew on it, right? Imagine if you swallowed it, you are actually disrupting the system.
Mhm.
And that is what we do. We disrupt the system because we are not chewing on stuff, we are swallowing them whole, and they are sitting in places they are not supposed to sit.
Mhm.
And it's showing up in your body as a body ache, pain, depression, anxiety,
Mm.
Mhm.
and all the different things. So if you don't learn how to be basic with your emotions, and we were not taught, because remember, even children, right? When they were growing up, they were taught to come if they have a cut, right? Mommy, I have a boo boo. Mommy will
Mhm.
kiss it and put a band-aid on it, right?
Mm-hmm.
What who nobody there is no language for I'm sad, I'm upset. I don't want to talk right now
Mhm.
because something is happening right now in my body that I don't understand. Nobody gave us language to that.
Mm-hmm.
So we lost that from the fundamentals. The same way children were taught how to brush their teeth, shower. Remember, we used to do it for them, and then we transition. And even those 2-year-olds, that terrible tools will tell you, "I can do it myself. I can do it myself." Right? Rigging themselves away from you and fighting you because they feel a little bit of independence. When it comes to our emotions, nobody taught us. So we grew up. Most of us grew up emotionally immature.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, that's the truth. A lot of us. I mean, at least I speak for myself. When it comes to emotional, right? I really wasn't taught that aspect of it. But I also think that a lot, I didn't realize then, but I realize now that a lot of our internal or even ailments sometimes, right, depending on what it is, it might be connected to emotional or trauma that we haven't really resolved, that we still holding on to. And it's surprising how sometimes we don't see the correlation between certain body aches or even aches, right? When it have to do with your emotions, when you have certain things that you're holding on to. And a lot of us doesn't realize that our past traumas, right? If we don't work on those things, we don't realize how that kind of transcends us to to adulthood. Let's put it like that. A lot of us think, most of us, some of us think, oh, I work, I've been through that. I know why should I have to continue to hold on to that? Like I moved on past that, right? But reality, because I did that, I'm not gonna be real. I did it, and I didn't see the importance of finding help, right? I didn't see the importance of working on myself because I thought that I dealt with it. Like, I'm good. I dealt with it. I mean, that happened to me when I was
Mhm.
16, 17, or whatever age that was. And now I'm like 30 something. I was, I, I was good to this point in my life, right? And, but not seeing that maybe certain actions that I did and certain things that I did is connected to my trauma. And I feel like a lot of us are disconnected in that sense because a lot of us do not realize that our trauma, unless we actually deal with it, depending on the trauma that it is, it carries you to your adulthood because the decisions sometimes, the things that we choose, the things that we do, speaks from that part, speaks from that part of our lives. Um, I could say that for myself, and I know that a lot of us don't. In basic conversations that I have with other people, we don't realize that. A lot of us don't
Absolutely.
realize that part.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Because we
That's
were
it.
not
Mhm.
taught, right? Because we were not taught. So
Mm-hmm.
how would you realize something that you have no clue actually affects you on a daily basis? And look at how you even
Mhm.
look at the language you use. You said you thought you dealt with it and you've moved on.
Yeah.
We don't talk about the way we nourish ourselves with food like that. You didn't eat 16 years ago and never ate again. You eat every day.
Right. Yeah. That's true.
So let's catch our even language surrounding emotions, right?
Yeah.
I dealt with it. No, we deal every day. Because how
Mhm.
it might manifest yesterday or that younger self, right, might not manifest the same way as you are growing up. And that is where the maturity piece coming. Because then something triggers you, and because you've dealt with it, you've processed it, you are tuned in with yourself. Maybe instead of what you used to react to, now you are breathing through to settle your body.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a daily exercise, but we don't even realize that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
No, that's
Yeah.
true.
I think another interesting thing as well, Reese, is that we may not even be aware of what our body is interpreting as trauma.
Yeah.
We go through life every day. You might have a disagreement with your boss or coworker. You may have got into a vehicular accident on your way to work, and you go through all of the different steps to manage that, and you think you're good. But then you have a headache or migraine. You have some kind of pain in your body, and you attribute it to something else because in your mind you've handled that trauma. So, what kind of advice would you give us for things like that? Because this is a very interesting conversation, meaning you could be traumatized and you don't even know. It doesn't take something like, for example, a rape, for example, or abuse. There are other little traumas that happen to you that your body embraces them and internalizes them, and then we see the pain, but we don't know what that pain is. We go to the doctor and the doctor says, oh, what's wrong? Oh, I've been having these migraines, and they give us two aspirin, if that is the case. But really, we need healing at a different, deeper level emotionally than physically.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And that comes with you being aware. But because we were not taught, because we don't know, then we also accept the aspirin. And that is where the immaturity comes in. So I think this pandemic gave us a gift. It gave us a gift
Yeah.
of piling on stresses where now we have to find language to express what we are feeling.
Yeah.
And
Mm-hmm.
trauma is impact. So,
Mm-hmm.
like you said, there are degrees. We call some traumas with a capital T. Those are the ones you
Mm-hmm.
mentioned, where physical abuse, you know, collision, head-on collision with I'm talking about vehicular or whatever. Those are heavy-duty impacts,
Mm-hmm.
but there are other impacts. We call them the small t kind of traumas, right? But what is interesting is that nobody can define what somebody else's trauma is.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So you might
Mm-hmm.
think, oh, it's a small t for them. But depending on how they are resilient or how their body interprets whatever that is, it is their trauma. So we don't define it for them. But what is interesting about what you just said is, I mean, you have just come out of an impact of a body part like your feet, right? The foot that got that impact sent message to you right away that Gail, something is not right.
Mm-hmm.
And even though you pushed it a while, right? The food is like, I'm not having it because it was giving you language like, no, we are not going to do
Mm-hmm.
this. And based on the pain that was shooting to you, you didn't have a choice but to go see a doctor.
Mm-hmm.
Our emotions fester for a long time before they will shoot a pain because by the time they shoot a pain, then there has been many ruptures in the body.
Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, all the other body parts, they scream. Right now, if I touch fire, my brain will just say, my hand will just move because of the pain,
Mm-hmm.
right? But our emotions don't have that kind of, I would say, explosive expression. So it's
Mm-hmm.
festering and we push it. Remember how even when you are healing, and these are things I picked from your post. Little did you know that I was going to use your post, right? Right, turning it right on you. When you said you have to put that feet up, right? What told you to put it up? The feet told you to put it up because it's not
Right.
happening.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right.
But
Yeah.
with emotions, guess what? We pushed through. Like you
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
said, that accident, instead of waiting and saying, no, maybe I need to go back home and rest, you
Mm-hmm.
push and go to the office and
Yeah,
finish
Mm-hmm.
that job
Mm-hmm. Correct.
because
that's
you're not
true.
bleeding.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
No, that's true. That's true. When it comes to emotional stagnation, do you have this emotional stagnation affect our mental health? Right? How does that affect that?
Oh my God. Emotional accumulation, particularly when we get emotionally constipated, meaning
Mm-hmm.
just like digestion, right? There is no
Mm-hmm.
outlet for the emotion and we don't process them. Guess what? Cumulatively, it becomes anxiety. Sometimes it becomes depression. And if we still keep going, it might be catastrophic because there are things called brief psychotic episodes, meaning somebody does not or neglect all these things, and then there is one final push, and then there is literally insanity for
Mm-hmm.
a while.
Yeah.
So these things push to the limit. So the anxiety you are feeling, the sleeplessness you are feeling, right? They are all the indicators, right? But because it's not a bleeding that I see the blood, so I'll pay attention to it. I'm holding in the anxiety, doing the same thing that I'm doing. I'm holding in the depression, doing the same thing I'm doing. So what COVID did for us, that is why I call it a gift. COVID came to stop us in our tracks and shake us and say, you are living lives on borrowed time.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Pay
Mm-hmm.
attention.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
true. COVID definitely did that. I
Yeah.
mean, the amount, and even the amount of people that that passed away from COVID, that kind of gives you a mirror of like, man, like you could be here today. I'm sure most of us heard of that. You spoke to somebody or you saw somebody today, and then a week from down they're gone, right? Because of
Right.
Yeah.
COVID. So I think
Mhm.
it'll give us to understanding of, man, we are definitely on borrowed time.
And
So
guess what
whatever
Mm-hmm.
that,
COVID did? COVID actually pointed how much we have robbed ourselves of keeping taking care of our bodies, because
yeah,
stresses and all these emotional bottle up and constipation becomes inflammation in your body,
yeah,
weakens your immune system, and that is what COVID came to expose.
no, that's wow, that is a very good point. As far as when
Mm-hmm.
it comes to inflammation and I mean it's funny because a lot of us, I mean even for myself, I didn't pre-COVID, I didn't realize a lot of the things that I realize now. And
Mm-hmm.
pre-COVID, that's when I started my journey, right? I mean the when COVID started, when I was laid off from work at that time, right? So I had time and I'm sitting home, and then I started to realize certain things, and that's when my personal journey, self-healing journey, self-growth journey started for me, right? Just to analyze the certain things in my life, right? Analyze certain traumas that have happened to me, right? And all trauma to me doesn't necessarily have to stem from childhood. It could stem from adolescence down, based on things that you had experienced, um,
Mm-hmm.
right? But I feel like ultimately for me, I feel like I just knew something wasn't mathing up, something wasn't adding up for me,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and this is why I chose to dig deeper in. And I feel like some of us know something within ourselves is not adding up, right? Maybe something within our life doesn't make sense. Maybe the decision that we're making doesn't make sense, or we notice certain patterns that we're doing, but we're not really attuned to that. We're not really focusing on that until we dig deeper. I think that for me was helpful to understand certain things about myself, right? And just for me to put in the work that where I am now. I mean, it's a different for me. I can honestly speak from I mean, obviously, I feel like for me, I ain't never gonna be 100% healed, like whatever that means. But to have some kind of knowledge of myself and awareness, number one, of myself and things that I want, and things in other relationships that I'm building, it's important. So that's what to me COVID did for me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah, I think COVID taught us as well that a lot of things we were prioritizing weren't really a priority,
yeah,
especially
yeah,
when we were on lockdown. There was nothing to do, nowhere to go. How do you function? Um, and then you started, I think COVID gave us a lot of time to reflect
yeah,
on,
definitely.
is this what I want for myself for the rest of my life? Really?
Yeah,
But Reese,
yeah.
have you found that? And like, was there a personal experience that you had that made you want to take this journey and then help others with
Oh,
emotional
absolutely.
detoxing?
Absolutely. Because, like I said, in my clergy life,
Mm-hmm.
I saw a lot of people in leadership, right, who were bleeding on other people emotionally.
Mm-hmm.
You could hear
Yeah,
it from their sermons. You could hear it when, instead of sitting and dealing with themselves, their go to is performance.
yeah,
Mm-hmm. Yes, agreed.
And
that's true.
something was not right. Not only was something not right, but I had an encounter where somebody assassinated my character for a year.
Oh
Mm.
wow.
And so, even though I was looking inward, right, I was like, no, something is not right. Something is not right. And I sat with it. Yes, it was hurtful, right? But as I absorbed and absorbed and absorbed, I realized that fundamental that, gee, if you don't deal with that internalized stuff. So
Mm-hmm.
in our case, it was me, an up and coming minister, being creative, energetic, having an impact on the youth. And this person's insecurity, right? Instead of them addressing the fact that, wait a second, why do I feel the way I feel about how these kids gravitated towards Rissi? It became
Mhm.
name calling because I
Wow.
guess they realized that if they diminish my light, then they can
Yeah.
have the
Yeah, sharing it.
Yeah.
exactly. And I'm sure so many people can relate to that when it comes
Yeah,
to
Mhm.
definitely.
church
Yeah.
work, you know.
Yes.
And so I had to sit with it. Yes, I was wounded, I was hurt, but I said no, there has to be something that can be done. And so as I
Mhm.
started probing, like, what do I do with this hurt? But for me, what was so key for me is how do I not do it to others?
Right.
Because
Yeah.
the way it felt, I was like, no, I do not want to ever make anybody feel
Feel
this
like,
way.
Mhm.
yeah.
So that
Mhm.
started my journey to look
Yeah.
inward.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And do you
definitely.
find that most of us embrace the hurt instead of dealing with it? And I hope that's not a strange question, but I liked what you said. So you know you're
Yeah.
hurting and you're saying, okay, what am I gonna do with this hurt? How do I make myself not hurt? How do I make other people not hurt? But a lot of us, we embrace the hurt. We just wallow in it, lay in it, love it, rather than try to figure out, like,
Mm-hmm.
really, I'm hurting. What am I going to do with this pain? Who am I going to talk to? Where can I get help? How, what can I do to not feel this way? Because hurting is not a pleasant feeling. And I find too, we tend to embrace hurt a lot in death. When you've lost somebody you love, you tend to embrace that pain and that grief rather than find a way to release it.
Exactly. Again, but it goes back to the fact that nobody teaches this stuff.
Yeah.
And
Mm-hmm.
nobody taught
Yeah,
me.
well, we have have you.
Right.
I had to self, at that point, you know what is interesting? So at that point, I also enrolled in my health and wellness coaching school. And we
Mm.
had a
Mm-hmm.
mantra. We did a lot on nutrition. So in my coaching school is INN, Institute for Integrative Nutrition. It's in New York. And they had a mantra, even though we were taught over 100 dietary theories,
Mm-hmm.
reference to you name the person and what they are going through. I can sort of formulate a diet to address their problem. But we had a mantra: it is not what you're eating, it is what is eating you. So we will be told it
Ah,
doesn't
I
matter
like
how
that.
how much diet you look into for this person, we call it bio individual. So
Mm-hmm.
we created and customized the diet for the person. But they are like, watch out for things that the diet is not fixing.
Mm.
And that is what got me. I was like, oh, okay, now let me sit with me. So it started with creative writing, what we call journaling. And it doesn't have to be fancy. Putting my thoughts on the paper so I can see it. But do you know that even putting the thoughts on the paper is that phrase we say, get it off your chest, right? It was metabolizing.
Mm-hmm.
That is the science that supports it. Once you put it on paper, it's not festering anymore, right? You have given it energy. The energy is outside you.
Mm-hmm.
So when I learned to do that, I was like, wow, this is so freeing.
Mm-hmm.
And then I learned other modalities, on and on and on and on. And I said, you know what? Now I realized I wasn't even called to the pulpit. My pulpit is the marketplace.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Wow. That's my. That's really a
Pretty
shape from.
powerful.
Yeah, that is. Yeah, that's powerful.
It's
But it
pretty
just on
powerful.
the other person, it's like when you do things like that to someone, you think that you're really taking something away from them, right? Essentially, maybe at that time, depending on the circumstance, maybe a job if it went to the extreme, right? But
Mm-hmm.
you don't like the other person. It's like you taking something from someone because according to your perception, why people like that person more. but it doesn't mean because that person, let's say that person is removed, does that mean they're gonna like you more? That doesn't mean that. Um, so that's, man, I'm sorry you have to go through that, Reese. But
Well,
at the
For a
end of the
whole
day,
year, for a whole year. That's
yeah,
like,
but
we take attacks on our character very, it's a personal thing. It's a
yeah,
yep,
personal thing.
no, I
yep.
agree. Yeah, but how would someone have, if when it, let's say somebody's emotional stagnant, how would they know they're emotionally stagnant? Because some people don't realize they are emotionally stagnant.
Hmm.
Well, yeah, people don't know, but there are indicators because when you are stuck, you can't move forward, right? You know you're supposed to advance here because there are cues in your body, in your desires that is telling you to move forward, to go maybe for this career move or this business or whatever. And maybe
Hmm.
for the last 5 years, you've been dreaming about it. You've gone to all kinds of seminars about it, but taking that first step is a problem.
Hmm.
That is where you got to backtrack and deal with what is eating you. Why am I afraid to move forward?
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. Why do most people struggle with finding their purpose in life? Because I feel like a lot of people struggle with that. A lot of people don't know what their purpose in life is. How does one find that, if there is something to find? But I think there is, because I feel like we are unique in our own way. So how can someone give, let's say, 3 pointers for them to find their emotional, their purpose in life, or at least help them, guide them there, right? What would those 3 tips be?
Right. So you hit it right on the head. For me, my process in reference to the emotional detox, we go and we look at family patterns, right?
Hmm.
That's the
Hmm.
first assignment when I give people the framework, right? Because in that family pattern, then when we finish, that's the first week, first session. Second session, you are looking at your pattern and you see your pattern and your family pattern intertwining, right?
Wow.
Hmm.
Then we go through a release. So then that person you were holding because they hurt you, you realize that a pattern also found you where you were on your own.
Yeah.
So
Hmm.
then it's easier because you made the same quote unquote, either the same mistake or you were predisposed to the same behaviors, right? And it's easier to sort of let them go, right? So you do the letting go piece and then you start your healing journey. Because without letting go of the waste,
Hmm.
right? Hurt and pain is waste, right?
Yeah.
Without letting go of those things, you can't heal. So then
Hmm.
from the healing, then we deal with your identity and purpose. See, that is how my process works.
Ah.
We
Yeah.
finish the journey on purpose.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Well, that's important. I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, definitely. I think that's definitely powerful, especially when you say going back to your generational, right? Your mom, your grandmama, and those people. As far as you could go, as far as you remember, and those patterns that they have, what, and then those same teachings that was brought on to you, because we all have teachers from our ancestors, whatever that is. It depends on culture, it depends on you, right? But I feel like we all have some level of things that we carry from our mother and from her and her mother, from her mother, because ultimately our parents, just like if your parents doesn't have a life book, they do their life based on their circumstance and based on what they know. So the
Hmm.
things that they taught us necessarily does not mean that it's beneficial for us at the time, or whatever that time in your life is right now.
Hmm.
But that's good. That's good to uncover that, because that help you like open up that, just lift that, just lift that part up. Look under that hood, and then goes on to you. What are your life patterns?
Exactly.
So
Hmm.
that's definitely powerful. So when I'm sure when the transformation is done at the end of the 9 weeks, right? I'm sure that transformation is amazing to the clients that you served.
Right. And
Yeah.
actually,
You
the
know,
basic is 7 weeks. When
oh,
people want to
seven
Hmm.
delve
weeks.
deeper into purpose, we add that to additional sessions. But you said
Ah,
Hmm.
something very important right there. Look under the hood because when you
Hmm.
go to doctors, what do they ask us? Family history.
they do.
Yes.
They do.
Yes. And I
They
don't
sure
think a
do.
lot of us take our family history or our family patterns into consideration in terms of how these things have contributed to who we are as a person. You remember, Karen,
Yeah.
that came up in our live last week. So it's not only your family medical history, you know,
Yeah.
like, so why did my mom do this
Yeah.
in this way? Why did my dad say this? Which is not even medical history. It's like, why do they behave that way? And
Yeah.
how did this behavior when I was growing up affect me? Because we don't think about that. This
Yeah,
is
that's
so, this
true.
is like, it's really profound. The family patterns for me is,
Yeah.
the most profound, powerful, thing here for me today, that we don't think of it. And do you find that mostly for your clients, that a lot of people don't take their family patterns into consideration?
Most of
Receive?
the time, until they align it to themselves, they're like, oh, so I'm doing these things and I'm angry at the person who I got it from. And that is why the releasing becomes a little easier, because once you realize, oh, wow, they taught me and I've embraced it, then you learn how to forgive yourself and forgive them, and then you move on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Forgive,
Putting
especially
together.
no. Yeah. Especially forgiving yourself and then forgiving, those your parents or your special your family. And let's put it like that,
Right.
right? So let's talk about risk oasis,
Hmm.
right? So what made you want to once you did your work on yourself? What made you want to help other people do their work on themselves? What motivated that for you?
The freedom, my goodness, the freedom that I can enter spaces, light.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
The
she
freedom that
said like,
somebody can do something so horrible, but I have the self awareness to think it through from my perspective and then their perspective. Like, oh, they did it because they are hurting. They did it because this and that and that. And the freedom to be able to self check. Oh, yeah, I'm wounded. I'm right now upset because maybe what they did, there was already a root within me. So let me look within first, deal
mm,
with me. And once I've cleared that root, then if it comes up that I have to have a conversation, then I'm not coming from a wounded place. I'm coming from objectivity to say, hey, let's talk about this and that. At that time, I'm not blaming, I'm not pointing fingers, but maybe I want to clear the air. So that was the freedom. Actually, it was so powerful that I'm like, wow, I didn't know you can live life on this other side like that,
Mm-hmm.
you
Mm-hmm.
know?
yeah, yeah,
Was there
definitely.
was there a special reason why you added Oasis to your business name?
Yes. So it's Oasis, this type of work, you need a safe space. You need a place that will refresh you. You need a place that you can trust.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
You need an
definitely.
oasis in the desert.
Yeah.
Yeah, but exactly right. Because life is a desert, actually.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So come to the oasis in the difficulties of life. Find that oasis and take that rest, but don't just rest.
Yeah.
Get rid of the stuff you need to get. Refresh yourself.
Yeah, reset.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Great.
For anybody who want to know out there, is your sessions confidential? Right? For anybody that might even if they think about it, I'd rather just I'm sure the session's confidential. They should know that it is confidential, but just clear it out for anybody who asks or who might not understand. Right? Just put it out there. The sessions are confidential.
If you do a one-on-one, it's super confidential. But
Mm-hmm.
there are group sessions. What is interesting about group dynamic is the fact that you all get to have the framework before we meet, right?
Mm.
So let's say I give people almost a week. The reason is you're gonna pout, you're gonna kick, you're gonna get upset, you're gonna get mad at me, then you're gonna settle and get the work done. So usually
In
a
that
week,
order.
a week is a good way to warm you up, right? Because 2 days and having to be in touch with because you're mad,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
right? And then you finally sit and deal with it. What happens in group is the fact that you share what only the things you want to share. You don't have to
Yeah.
really go deep, but
Mm-hmm.
because you did the work, you've done the work. So you can come
Mm-hmm.
into the group and somebody will say something and it resonates with you and you might chime in, and that's
Yeah.
good enough.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But there is a part that is so, I would say, mystical about this work,
Mm-hmm.
because even as I'm interacting with the people, There will be moments when I'll feel what they are feeling,
Mm.
and I might zero in on the thing they are feeling and begin to process it in a strange way that they don't know. And they might come on board, and as we interact, they get a release. I don't know
Mm.
how,
Mm-hmm.
but it's such a mysterious part of the work.
Mm-hmm.
So people don't go it alone.
Right.
I am
Yeah.
in it. Like you know how you somebody has thrown up on you and you are scrubbing you and scrubbing them, whatever to clear.
Yeah.
It happens to me a lot in this process.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah, I like the fact that you have a choice. You offer one-on-one
Mm-hmm.
sessions, and you
Yes.
also have the group work. I think the good thing about the group work is that it would allow people to know they're not alone. Sometimes you think it's
Yes.
only you,
Yeah.
and then somebody shares and you realize A, it's not only you, B, your life is really not as hard as somebody else's. We always
Exactly.
think
Yeah.
our journey is the hardest ever,
Mm-hmm.
and then somebody shares something and you realize like, oh crap, I really had it easy and I didn't
Exactly.
even know, and I need to be a little more grateful.
Right. Or
And
not even did I have it easy, but then it's easy to let go. The let go is
Mm-hmm.
the piece because when we use
mm-hmm,
the word forgiveness, it sounds so heavy, and I feel like the church has weaponized that word forgiveness. But letting
mm-hmm,
go scientifically is good for you because then you untangle yourself from the person and the mess they created that is causing you pain.
Mm-hmm.
mm-hmm. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
another interesting point,
No,
Reese.
letting, yeah, yeah,
That the church has probably weaponized forgiveness, because when we
yeah.
think of forgiveness, really, I think people unconsciously think to forgive somebody, I have to go through all of the things that Jesus went through. I have to be beaten, I have to be put on a cross, I have to be betrayed. But
Mm-hmm.
doesn't really have to be that heavy, really.
Exactly.
You don't have to go through all of that before you get to the stage where you can forgive.
Right.
So that's an it. That's probably true. Maybe they have weaponized it because
Yeah.
it's part of the
And that
teaching.
is why when you use the word letting go, if
Mm-hmm.
it's hurting me and I let go and it's going to give me freedom, then it serves me. Letting
Mm-hmm.
go makes you turn it on you to say what is in it for me.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Turns the focus into you. So great. This was a very good conversation.
Yeah.
Can you just tell us where people can find you, and after the live we'll put all of your links into the comments, as well as address any questions and let people reach out to you directly, with their questions as well. So where can people reach you, Risi? And is your 7-week course going on right now? Is it about to start? Can you tell us a little more about that?
The people gather, and then if there is a group, then they gather, and then when we reach, the minimum or maximum, then we do it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's
Mm-hmm.
on how many people are interested. But one-on-one, people can just DM me,
Okay, they can
and we'll
just
have
reach you.
that chat.
Yes, I'll
Because for
make it.
me, the reason why I don't do these other screening, put screens and things between me and the person, that key trust needs to be established.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's
Mm-hmm.
true.
It's very
Yeah.
important. So I go about it in a very unconventional way because when we interact, what I do is an experience. You got to
Mm-hmm.
experience me, the person, and think for yourself and say, "Wait, well, do I feel safe?"
Yeah, I
Mm-hmm.
like that you mentioned that, Reese,
Yeah.
because especially when you're talking about your emotions and what's internal, we like this with it, right? We so
Hmm.
tight, we don't. It's like a trust thing. So the fact that you just mentioned, you allow the person to go to their steps, you meet them where they at, that would make the person feel comfortable, right? It makes them put them at ease, and it makes them go, okay, she's not pushy. I can trust her. Always start from where
Exactly.
you want to start. I'm sure you have a certain way of doing things, but definitely allowing people to start from where they feel comfortable. And as the journey unfolds, they start spilling because the comfortability level is there. So I think that's a good thing that you mentioned that
And I've
that.
seen some amazing breakthroughs for people that didn't even commit 100% because they didn't know even what that commitment meant,
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
but they showed up.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And within 4 sections, things were falling off, things were reorganizing in their lives, and even it amazed me. So yeah, there is like I said, a mysterious component of the whole thing that even when I walk people through, I am in expectation of what their mysterious piece will look like. So it's
Wow.
exciting.
Mm-hmm. Great.
Wow. That sounds great. That sounds amazing. But I'm glad that people, I mean, for anybody who's watching, any out there, if you feel like this is you, right? You feel like you need someone to help you with your emotional well being, with your emotional health. That's something that you feel like, okay, I'm open to it. Give Reese a call, have a conversation with her, and see where you maybe she could where you guys could fit in, how she could help you. But definitely reach out to Reese. She's very well knowledge in emotional detox part, helping you transcend from your ancestors, right? Because your parent, if obviously ancestors means
Family
we got
history.
passed
Yep.
on. Yeah, for your family
Mm-hmm.
history, up to
And
your
family
history,
patterns,
up
yes.
to where you are right now in your life. Reach out to Reese. And any last words before we are done for today?
Yeah, we all need it. We all need it,
Yeah.
particularly those of us doing this frontline kind of work. If you are
Mm-hmm.
clergy and you are dealing with people's emotions through the pandemic, you are a nurse, you are a nurse practitioner, social worker,
Mm-hmm.
the whole
Yeah.
nine. I mean, we all need it. So, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Especially now.
Yeah.
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 All
Yeah.
right.
I only have one phrase to close us out for today. And remember, it's not what you're eating, it's what eating you. That's my biggest takeaway from
Yep.
today as well. I have it written down. And I want to
Yeah.
thank Rishi for coming to join us today. It was a very interesting conversation. As I said, we'll check the comments after the live and respond. Karen, can you let our viewers know that we're taking next week off, a little break, and then we'll
Yes.
For
be
self
back
care.
for self care. We
Yes.
are doing some detoxing next week, and then we'll be back the following week with another great guest talking on another interesting topic.
Yes, guys. We'll see you the following
So
week.
thanks, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday and remember to be safe. Thanks, Reese. And
Thank you
we'll
for
see you
having me.
again
Thank you,
soon.
Reese.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it.
You're
Thank
Take
you.
care.
welcome.
Bye bye.